Hey, what's up, YouTube? Well, I know I'm making videos just way too often these days, but what else can you do? You know, I can't really get in the car and go drive somewhere because while the car is operable, I'd rather not get in another wreck because if I do, um, it'll be like, how do you prove, what damage was already there and what was put on there? So, however slim the possibility could be of getting in a wreck, I'd rather not take any more chances. Okay, so unless until the car gets fixed or unless and until we hear more about the situation, I'd rather just not go anywhere while my dad is at work. And so naturally, that leaves me with a lot of time to make videos that I didn't have during the COVID thing. So I think of it as making up for lost time with the COVID. Um, if it seems very windy due to that wind chime, well, that's because we got some fierce winds going on. And never before have I been so disappointed in Texas weather as now that I've been moon gazing, so to speak, and we are in the gibbous phase, and I was able to take a few nice pictures of it, but pretty soon it's gonna get old. I mean, how many pictures can you really take of the moon? It doesn't really change that much. And if I'd known the telescope would be as weak as it was, I may have reconsidered buying it simply because it's just something that takes up a lot of space. And although I love it, we really have a small apartment and I have to be very careful not to leave it out for a split second because I don't want someone to steal it, okay? But I think one day, if we're able to ever live in a house again, it'll be a wonderful thing to have. So I just hold on to that hope. But I am somewhat disappointed that I'm not able to see more than I can see with it. Although, I have been able to see like, stars and planets. Like I can actually see the moons on other planets. I literally saw like Phobos and Deimos orbiting around Mars like a triangle, but they all look like stars. You just can't see a lot of definition with a telescope that weak in power. So, yeah, that's enough about the telescope and the moon. I know that's just another subject that I talk about a lot on here. But as you can probably imagine, this video will somehow tie into Rugrats because that seems to be the only thing that anybody will click on. And one thing, that just keeps boggling my mind or puzzling me is why I'm getting these mysterious thumbs down ratings. I mean, if you look at my most popular videos, the few that had thousands of views, you'll see that while they do have a lot of thumbs ups, they also have a lot of thumbs down. And almost every video that I've ever made about Rugrats has at least one thumbs down rating. And so I'm not exactly sure what's up with that. What's not to love about what I have to say regarding Rugrats? I just don't get it. But anyway, what I want to talk about, I think I want to title this video Fully Clothed Nudity, just for some shock value. And what I mean by that is this concept that you see in cartoons and to an extent real life or live action as well. A lot of times, like, especially in the cartoon world where they would have to draw something a certain way in order for it to appear that way, you'll have like, when people are bathing in a cartoon, a lot of times they will put a character in a bathing suit or, some sort of clothing that you wouldn't actually wear if you were bathing. And I can somewhat understand that, you wouldn't want to have like topless females or, things like that. But what's really more disturbing, with fully clothed nudity, as it's called, and what that means, it's like, You know, when in the real world someone would be nude, but because you can't really show that, you represent it with a cartoon character or even a real actor wearing clothing in that situation and acting as though, you know, they're nude. But the most disturbing or shocking form of it to me, okay, is when you have someone sitting on the toilet with their pants up. And, you know, like I say, I mean, if I've said it once, I've said it a million times. I am not convinced that Angelica was ever potty trained in Rugrats. Because the only character that we ever see, you know, with a naked butt on the toilet is Chucky. And every other child character basically could either be wearing a diaper or they've never shown their undergarments. And, you know, while most people would just look at that and say, oh, well, it's a cartoon, which it is, you know, I personally think that it's more disturbing to have someone sitting on the toilet with their pants up than it would be to either have them somehow with their butt exposed or simply not using the toilet whatsoever, you know, which would be more of the perfect world, you know, sort of like, well, I mean, a lot of more wholesome cartoons, as I call them, like Sophia the First, and as far as I know, like Miles from Tomorrowland. A lot of the Disney Junior types, you never see anyone using the toilet whatsoever. And it's almost like you can't really imagine how they would even animate such a thing. But in Rugrats, I mean, they literally put people sitting on the toilet fully clothed, which I've shown images like that on here. And like I say, I've just never seen enough evidence, you know, to believe that Angelica is even potty trained, you know, let alone, you know, to prove that she didn't crap her pants, you know, as it's like, and you see, this is what I don't understand. You know, these people that say, like, I'll say, Angelica crapped her pants. And there's like this knee-jerk reaction to say, no, she didn't. It was Tommy. And you know, like I've stated before how ridiculous that is. You know, that's kind of like saying, like if I said, it's raining in Texas. And somebody said, no, it isn't. It's raining in Louisiana. Well, okay, since when does one negate the other, is what I'm trying to say. You know, does the rain cloud have to be only in one state or the other? You know what I'm saying? It's like, or let's make it even more specific. It's raining in Orange, Texas. No, it isn't. It's raining in, like, whatever, I think, like Vinton, Louisiana, or whatever the furthest west you can go in Louisiana. Lake Charles or something like that. No, it isn't. It's raining in Lake Charles. You know, it just doesn't make any sense, you know, because it's like, how does one negate the other? How are they mutually exclusive? You know, that's like saying, you know, the wind is fierce at this apartment. And somebody were to say, no, it isn't. It's blowing hard at the apartment across the street. What are you talking about? You know, it just doesn't make any sense. Okay? You know, I mean, I've just stated that so many times, you know, and that's why I don't allow comments on these videos, because I will not have somebody, you know, try to gaslight me or use red herrings, which is what it's called, when something is irrelevant, but you're throwing it out there like as if it really is a game changer. Really. So, you know, the only thing, and it just makes me so mad, you know, it's just this mental block that boys have about girls not having bowel functions, and it just really infuriates me, you know, because it's like, it's about as stupid as, you know, the Boys Don't Cry thing, which there was a movie titled Boys Don't Cry around the year 2000, and my mom wanted to blame that movie and me having seen it for this transgender ideation, as I call it, you know, me wanting to be a boy and all that. She wanted to say that, well, because I saw that effing movie, that's why I wanted to be a boy. I mean, give me a break. You know, that's about as ridiculous of a statement as I've ever heard, because I was saying that when I was actually younger than the Rugrats. I was saying that from about the age of 2 years old, that I wanted to be like my cousin, I wanted to be a boy. Okay, that movie had never happened in the 80s. And I definitely had had short hair since the age of 10, but somehow or another she just wanted to attribute this, I wouldn't say it was sudden or rapid onset, but around the age of 17 is when I decided on a name that I really wanted to call myself. And like, I'm not going to say it here, but I have a very specific reason for wanting that name. And that's when I guess I may have started to think more seriously about it. But I mean, that kind of, this wanting to be a boy stuff, it's based on the crap that I've been talking about. This idea that we're not allowed to be fully human. We're not allowed to fully inhabit our bodies as human beings. We're supposed to be this myth that they build up in their heads. We're supposed to exist only for their pleasure. You know what I'm saying? We're not supposed to have real human bodily functions. And, these stupid idiot boys, that want to say things like that, they're just too retarded to imagine a girl, having bowel functions. They drive me further and further away from wanting to be with a guy. Because, see, that's just what it's really all about. It really isn't about me necessarily wanting to be a man, so to speak, as much as I just don't like guys, okay? It's not so much that I am a guy, it's that I don't want to be with a guy. And, the more I read about how women aren't supposed to fart, not that I would ever fart, in front of a guy. We're not supposed to fart and we're not supposed to poop. But yet they're allowed to, anytime they feel the urge. And what really makes me mad, okay, you see, women's bodily functions are stigmatized, whereas men's are celebrated. But guess whose bodily functions are directly affected or impacted by childbirth? It's not the father, so it's like women are shamed for farting or told that they're not supposed to fart by men, but yet, guess what makes it harder to hold in your farts? And guess what I was smart enough to avoid? Like a very small percentage of women. Most women, they just blindly accepted that, yep, I'm going to be a mom someday. Oh, well. Whatever happens to my body is what happens. Okay, so, and it just makes me really mad because, see, men are allowed to fart and they're not shamed for it, but their bodies and their fart control isn't jeopardized by childbirth. Nor does it make them vomit from morning sickness, or nor does it affect their bladder or anything else about their physical body. Their sexual market value can stay the same or even increase with age, whereas childbirth is what makes a woman less attractive to men in the future. So, that's what makes me really angry. And you see, that's what it's all about. It's not so much, like I say, about me necessarily wanting to be a man or wanting to grow a beard or, although I wouldn't mind having a deeper voice, because perhaps I'd actually have some views on my videos. But it's all about this shame around, surrounding the female body. It's just, we're taught that our bodies are stigmatized, or, our bodily functions might even be unimaginable. Like, men can't even conceive of a woman farting or pooping, even if it's a character that clearly has other bodily functions, and that's what I want to talk about. This kind of ties into it. These Rugrats dolls, which I'm not going to take them out because I have on another video. But if you look at these dolls, if I were to take them out, you would see that this character, which is the first one I ever had, okay, this was originally given to my sister on Christmas in '97, which I didn't know, but it happened to be the 39th birthday of her voice actress. But somehow or another, what happened was, okay, my sister has the full set. She has Tommy, Chucky, Phil, Lil, Angelica, Spike, and then later Dill. Okay, the only one she doesn't have is Kimmy, who is super rare. to the point of costing hundreds of dollars, perhaps, if she were in mint condition. So basically, my sister has the whole set, and what happened was, they didn't have fill, okay? My mom was going to give her the full set for Christmas '97. She was basically obsessed with the show, or I was obsessed with it as well, but, she was allowed to celebrate that obsession with Rugrats shirts and whatnot, because a 5-year-old can wear that stuff and not be ashamed, unlike a 14-year-old. Okay? So she got all kinds of Rugrats stuff that year. And they didn't have the Phil doll. Like, they had the Lil, like this. Okay? But we couldn't find Phil. Because I guess, I don't know why, they didn't manufacture as many Phil dolls. Or maybe some people stupidly bought 2 Phils instead of Phil and Lil. Okay, well, after Christmas, she was able to get a Phil and a new Angelica doll, because every time I would go in her room, I would play with that Angelica doll. And my mom just bought her another one and gave that one to me because I guess the oil in my hands may have, I don't know, worn her a bit. I don't even know. Maybe she wasn't as perfect as the new one, but somehow or another, my mom said, since I was so obsessed with Angelica, which I clearly was, she was the only character I really cared about seeing on the show, I got to have an Angelica doll. And my sister got a new one of her and a Phil to go with her Lil. So she had all 6 of them at the time. She didn't have a Susie. So Susie and Kimmy are the only ones she didn't get. And so I just had an Angelica doll for many years. And later I acquired Tommy and Chucky. Well, one of the reasons why I wasn't more adamant about having the others sooner, not only did I not like those characters as much as Angelica, but the other thing that always bothered me about these little dolls is that although I like their outfits, I like how closely they match the characters on the show, one thing that always somewhat bothered me was how the boys could be stripped down, or the babies could be stripped down completely naked. Okay, you could take off all of Chucky's clothes and he would be left with just his shoes. And so would Tommy. He would be completely naked. And Dill. Okay? But if you wanted to strip down Angelica, or at least this version of her, the most you could do would be take off her purple dress, and she'd be left with her blue leggings, or pants, or tights, or whatever they are, and her orange blouse, okay? So she'd still be fully clothed, technically. And the babies would be nude, except for perhaps their tennis shoes if they wear them. Okay, and the only exception to that was, of course, other versions of her, like I guess the slumber party version, the swimsuit version. There may have been other versions of Angelica that could go nude, but I've never wanted to look into getting one because, of course, I already have an Angelica doll. I don't want to collect a whole bunch of them. I mean, really, how much space do we really have in this apartment? So I've never wanted to buy additional copies of her, just to have one that would disprove that. But it somewhat always bothered me that, her body was sort of, I don't know how to explain it, normally covered in this shroud of mystery that the younger characters just didn't have. Like, I don't know. Yes, she wore bathing suits. Yes, she wore some revealing clothing at times. But by and large, she was always seen in her tights and long sleeve blouse, with the purple dress on top. And never once are her undergarments shown. Never once does she ever pull down her pants. She has this shroud of mystery, or I don't know how to explain it, like they had a naked Tommy but never a naked Angelica episode. And of course we have the potty training episode with Chucky. But although most people always assumed that she was potty trained because she was older, they never actually show her using the toilet. They never actually show her potty training experience or show her butt on the toilet, as I've stated before. So it was almost like in order to maintain, this role of a villain and a love interest to these idiot fanboys that are now men today, they had to kind of, I don't know, like have this secrecy. That's how you know it's a boys cartoon, because it's like they wanted to sort of keep her body somewhat a mystery in ways that the others weren't as much, if that makes any sense. So, it always bothered me. You could only strip down Angelica so much unless you bought a very specific version, which would probably cost more. And even the Halloween version, where instead of a purple dress, she's wearing a black witch's cape, she still has the same underlying outfit, the orange blouse with blue leggings. So it'd be just like having this Angelica right here put in a black cape. And, like I say, I don't want to take them out because I have them, fixed just so in there. And I don't want to get them dirty or anything like that. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about fully clothed nudity and how absurd it is, to put characters sitting on the toilet with their pants up, because to me, from my perspective, that is even more disturbing than if they were to just be naked butt or butt naked, however you say it, on the toilet, or simply not using the toilet whatsoever. Because, I'm of the mindset that if you don't do something right, you should just not do it. And on most cartoons like Sophia the First and all those other, more age-appropriate shows for children, you never see anyone using the toilet. You never see anyone farting, and that's really the way it should be done, because I don't, double standards exist, but they're very hard to explain to children. So, while a lot of people might find it just hilarious, to have a male character farting, and disgusting for a female character, well, I personally think that they should just have no one farting whatsoever, because the double standard is what is seen, or at least, from the female perspective. We pick up on the double standard. Men might just think, it's hilarious, somebody gets to fart, even if women don't, and it's like they're displaying their privilege every time they let one go. Some more forcefully than others, and that's why I never do that, because I know how disgusting it is when other people do it, so I don't want to offend people like that. And I will literally plan my diet around not eating things that will give me gas. And like I've stated before, I never fart in my clothes for a very obvious reason. Along came Polly. That's all I have to say about that. But yeah, so, fully clothed nudity is weird. I don't know why they did it so much in Rugrats, but I wonder how the reboot will handle it. And, I'm just so sick of people trying to gaslight me and say that she was toilet trained when that has never been proven.